Hey guys, before I start the podcast, a quick introduction. My name is Warnith and I'm the founder of Pet Excel Marketing. Pet Excel Marketing is a marketing agency that specifically works with pet businesses. Over the years, we have worked with pet food brand, pet relocation businesses, pet SaaS companies, pet clothing brand, cat food businesses, dog grooming services, and many other product and service-based pet businesses globally. Our services includes everything from creating graphics to running your ad campaign. Not only that, we have built amazing websites and apps for pet businesses. So if you have a pet business and would like us to help grow it, click on the first link in the description to book a call with our team. Now enjoy the podcast. Guys, welcome back to Pet Brand Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the world of pet businesses, uncover industry insight, and chat with experts who are making a difference in the pet space. I'm your host Warnith, and today we have an incredible guest who's leading the charge in protecting pet owners from unexpected liabilities. Joining us is Deborah Turner, a seasoned insurance expert and the founder of Dog Bite Coat, the leading provider of canine liability insurance. As the president of Dean Insurance Agency, Deborah has dedicated her career to educating pet owners about the importance of liability coverage and ensuring they have the protection they need. So, in today's episode, we are going to break down what canine liability insurance really is, discuss the biggest misconceptions surrounding pet related claims, and explore how responsible pet ownership can help prevent incidents. So, whether you are a pet owner, a professional in the pet industry, or just curious about how insurance impact the pet world, this conversation is packed with valuable insight. So, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Deborah, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Great, amazing, amazing. So yeah, let's get started from the beginning. The insurance industry is definitely vast, covering everything from health to home. But within it, like pet liability insurance, the niche that not many people know about, right? So like, can you share your journey into the insurance industry and like how you became interested in pet liability insurance?
And insurance, I was a business major and I took a class. We had one of the core classes was based on insurance. And
Mm.
don't ask me why, but it just called my name. And I actually ended up getting a degree in insurance from FSU.
Uh-huh. And how you like went into the pet specific niche?
I had adopted a little schnauzer by the name of Jazz. He was personality challenged.
Mhm.
And I decided to see what I could learn about canines and behavior and everything, to see if I could learn ways to help him be more sociable.
Yeah.
Um, and I read some 40, 50 books. I took classes. I took all
Uh-huh.
kinds of different classes, including canine freestyle. Um, I uh, studied everything I could find about behavior. And
Mhm.
then I recognized, because of my degree in insurance, that the insurance industry does not recognize how they don't understand how to underwrite or what questions to ask to determine which dogs they feel are insurable and those that are not.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have the equivalent of a CPCU. I mean, I have a CPCU, which is the equivalent of a master's degree.
Yeah.
And um, one of the things that they ask us to do is to do research for the industry
Mhm.
to alert the industry of new coverages, new takes on old coverages. So I'd
Yeah.
started a research paper, and I had a company guy. I was telling him about it, and he said, "Debbie, people need this coverage. You need to get this out to the market."
Yeah.
And at the moment, my life took a turn, and I've had this with a couple of companies. The first company took me 18 months to get it up and running.
Wow. Hmm. And like you said, it took you 18 months. So definitely, like in starting any business, comes with hurdles, educating the market, building trust, and fine-tuning services. So like, what do you think, like, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the early days of launching Dog Bite Code?
The, oddly enough, the hardest part was the technology, because I
Hmm.
was sort I didn't know. I was sort of a ahead of the market on that. But I had a really hard time finding someone to develop the program.
Yeah.
The, the program's too small, the premiums. I'm sorry.
Sure, sure. No worries.
The program premiums are too small to be able to do this manually. So I had to find a way to um, ask the questions and be able to process it to get the quotes so people could decide whether or not they wanted to purchase it.
Mhm.
That was, it still is a nightmare. I still have problems with it today.
Yeah.
The bigger problem is no one's ever heard of this. Everyone assumes it's a scam.
Yeah.
Um, Most people do not realize that it's being removed from their homeowners and their renters policies by the insurance companies.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
it isn't until they actually have a dog claim
Hmm.
until they find out, oh no, there's no coverage for that.
Hmm.
So,
Definitely. Hmm. So, like, sometimes people only understand the value of insurance like when they face a crisis, right? So like I'm sure you have seen some cases where having canine liability insurance made like all the difference for a pet owner. So can you share any real life case where having liability insurance saved a pet owner from significant financial loss?
well, we had a we wrote a check for 300,000, so that was a big savings to the owner.
Wow.
Uh, the average claim cost $60,000 to close. Um, when I started this in 2012, it was
Hmm.
7,500. So over those 12 years, it has, I don't know how multiple is, but it's gone way up.
Wow.
Um, People's attitudes have changed dramatically
Hmm.
in that it used to be um, if you got scratched or the dog nipped you, you'd go home and the parents would say, "What'd you do to the dog?" Well, now they do what they do is they call an attorney when they get home,
Wow.
and so uh, the the attitude is, "Oh, my daughter got scratched,
Mm-hmm.
so I need to be paid for that." The worst of it is if you and your dog are walking and someone sees your dog and they turn around to run because they're terrified of, I don't know, Yorkies. And when they turn to run, they fall off the curb and get injured. That
Mm-hmm.
owner's going to be sued for that. So the dogs don't even have to touch you anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Crazy. And like, many homeowners assume that their insurance policy has them covered, but they are like other exclusion when it comes to dogs, right? So like how do traditional homeowner and renter insurance policy fall short when it comes to covering dog-related incidents?
Um, some some homeowners policies, renters policies will not cover what's called off premises.
Okay.
And that is the
Mm-hmm.
dog is away from the address on the policy, that there isn't any coverage. But that doesn't work because if you open the door and the dog slips out, runs off your property and injures someone in the street,
Yeah.
if you don't have premises coverage, then you have minimal coverage. Um, if the collar breaks when you're out on a walk,
Yeah.
um, dog's loose, and if something happens, um, you want that to be covered. So that's why off premises coverage is probably one of the most important coverages in this policy. The homeowners and renters are beginning to um, change their attitude um,
Yeah.
and have very, very restrictive. The breeds that they restrict vary from company to company. I was told one company is actually banning Chihuahuas. Um,
Yeah.
and they're some of them are just completely eliminating all animal liability.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
without that, if your bird pecks me on the cheek, well, here I go. I can't fill that gap, but I can. The dogs are the most often sued.
Yeah. 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 And like, any type of insurance, canine liability policies aren't like it's not like one size fits all. Some factors make premiums higher, like what while other like reduce risk, right? So like what do you think, like what factors influence the cost of a canine liability insurance policy?
Um, the breed, the weight, the
Okay.
gender, whether or not they're spayed or neutered, whether or not they have a fenced yard or they're leash walked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a base, and I asked breed to slot dogs into a base rate, and that is based on weight. So I have like 600 breeds in the system, and we actually average the male and female to figure out what tier to put those dogs in. So that's how it starts.
Mm-hmm. And many insurance provider rely on like broad, outdated risk models to assess like dog liability. But dog bite coat seems to take a more tailored approach. So how does dog bite coat approach underwriting differently from the traditional insurance out there?
Well, going back to the research paper, what I discovered is they're
Hmm.
simply not asking the right questions.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
all the research that I did, I was able to determine, like, I know I'll hear back from this, but male dogs do tend to be more aggressive.
Okay.
So if it's a male dog, it's upcharged. If it's a spayed female, then the premium is reduced. So every time they answer a question, that applies either a debit or credit to the base premium so that at the end you get the complete quote.
Love it, love it. Talking more of the business side of the dog bite code. Since like it has dog bite code has built a strong reputation in the pet insurance space, in a niche market, and that's definitely a small feat. So what do you think? Like, what strategy have helped you grow dog bite code into a trusted provider?
Um, it's probably the SEO. I mean, because it's
Hmm.
internet based,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
the try. That's how I can contact most people. I've done postcards. I've done emails to people that have gotten quotes. I've sent
Mhm.
postcards to rescues and animal control. Um, so I keep trying to find that one thing that's going to be the magic. I do podcasts, write articles, anything I get an opportunity to do.
Mhm. Love it. So, do you have like a competition in the market, somebody who's doing exactly what you are doing right now?
There, well, there's only three of these programs in the country.
Wow.
Four, four of them in the entire country,
Wow.
and none of them. It's four, including me. They all are very, very, very different policies,
Mhm.
um, and they ask very different questions. The premiums also seem to be different than mine.
Yeah.
Um, did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Moving forward with the next question, the insurance industry is highly regulated and policies related to pets can be particularly tricky, right? So, like, have you faced any legal or regulatory hurdles in providing dog bite insurance?
Have I heard of what?
Have you faced any legal or regulatory
Oh,
hurdles in providing
oh,
dog bite?
um, all of the programs are written through Lloyd's of London.
Uh-huh.
So we have to meet their guidelines, um, and they're pretty tight guidelines. And then on top of that, I have to be licensed in all 50 states,
Wow.
which requires me as an agent to be licensed. I have the licensing insurance agency, and I have to file with the Secretary of State that I'm
Wow.
not resident
Mhm.
business in their state.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
we live with regulations.
Great, great. And like as more people become pet owners, especially in the urban areas, has the demand for dog liability insurance changed over time? Do you think like there's a shift in the industry attitude toward dog liability coverage over the years?
It has grown,
Yeah. Hmm.
because people are finding out that they don't have any coverage.
Hmm.
And a lot of municipalities, if your dog so much as scratches another dog, they
Yeah.
will declare your dog dangerous. And
Wow.
very many communities then have insurance requirements. So I have animal control um, divisions from all over the country who will refer people to me because they cannot find us online. They just, pet health insurance is so prevalent now that
Yeah.
anything but with pet and insurance, you're going to get the pet health insurers.
Wow. Wow. And and also like it's not just pet owners who need protection. Trainers, groomers, and pet sitters also work with dogs daily and could be at risk. So what do you think, like what advice would you give to pet professional who wants to protect themselves legally?
Um, they need to carry their own insurance. This policy won't provide coverage for them.
Hmm.
Um, let's say I'm taking my dog out and you're bringing your dog in, and there's a tussle right there at the entrance. This policy would cover that. It
Yeah.
would also cover if the dog's under the control of the groomer, veterinarian, whomever, but they need to take, um, I prefer risk management to insuring
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah.
they need to look at, instead of allowing two dogs to be in the same area at one time, I don't
Hmm.
know, separate them with a
Hmm.
wall, find some way to keep them from being able to come, because that's a very, very scary time for dogs when they're being moved
Yeah.
around and all of a sudden there's another dog in their face. So they
Hmm.
need to look training their employees. I've had a number of dog owners who have been sued
Yeah.
um, because the technically this shouldn't happen, but it does. Because I had one new employee who got down on his hands and knees, backed a
Yeah.
dog in the corner,
Hmm.
and an effort to try and put the leash on him. Well, I don't suppose I have to tell you what happened. The guy's face to face with the dog. He's coming at him with a leash, and the dog reacted. And
Yeah.
so they can choose to sue the owners. Um, this thing about in in America about suing each other for, I don't know, using the wrong word in a conversation has really had a big effect on the industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And moving forward with, the pet brand or entrepreneurship, building a business in a niche market comes with its unique challenges, and you have done it successfully with Dog Bite Code. So what do you think, like what advice would you give to someone, let's say, who is like looking to start a niche business in specifically in the pet industry?
My first advice would be keep turning stones. I've probably called over 100 companies or
Yeah,
more. With a company that would listen to me, that was the big challenge, and
yeah,
then who would agree to take the risk on this book of business.
yeah, yeah.
The questions are working. We
Hmm.
learn over time, but the other issue is to know when to stop. I've been working on this since 2010, and I
Wow.
have to tell you, along the way, uh, that question has come across my mind, and you just really have to think about it.
Yeah,
I'm still not ready to give up.
yeah,
Not that I'm planning on it, but um, it's just really hard when you're one person and you're
yeah.
attempting to create something that the world's never seen before.
Yeah. Basically, you need more education in the market. You need to educate the market more.
Well, I tell people to make sure your passion is in
Mhm.
whatever you're doing, because
Yeah.
otherwise it becomes a burden.
Hmm.
And I enjoy to this day talking to dog owners. I have people call me crying because their dogs have just been confiscated because they killed the next door neighbor's cat. So
Wow.
I'm able to counsel them as to what's going to happen and what they need to do and how they
Mm-hmm.
need to handle it.
Hmm.
Um, so it, it really has to be a passion.
Definitely, definitely. And also like entrepreneurship is full of lessons. Some learn the hard way. Like I'm sure you have picked some invaluable insight along the way. So what do you think, like what business lessons have you learned that could help other pet entrepreneurs succeed?
Um, well, keep trying. Um, Keep
Uh-huh.
turning stones, because you never know when that next phone call
Yeah.
is going to take place. The way I got this company is I had been in an insurance company meeting several years before and met another agent. Well,
Yeah.
that agent somehow knew what I was doing and
Yeah.
called me and said, call these guys. So having people that, what am I trying to say? This socially getting to know people
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Having a huge network.
helps a
Yeah.
lot.
Hmm.
When I started, there was an association called Women in the Pet Insurance Business.
Wow.
And I was very lucky because that put me in place with a lot of
Yeah.
in the pet industry. In
Hmm.
fact, I might have met you there.
Yeah. Moving forward with the future of canine liability insurance, with dog ownership on the rise, especially post-pandemic, more people are thinking about pet liability than ever before, right? So, are you seeing like a demand for canine liability insurance and growing in the coming years, in the next, let's say, in the next 5 to 10 years?
Um, I think it will continue to grow
Yeah.
um, because of what the companies are doing. And even the apartments are now beginning to let you bring a dog in if you have pet
Yes.
liability.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Um, the what was I going to say? Um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
With the apartment becoming more pet friendly. Yeah.
well, and employers are letting people bring their dogs,
Yeah.
and they be named. Employers or landlords can be added to the policy as
Hmm.
what's called additional insured, so that if the dog injures someone and they get sued, then this policy will also protect them.
Yeah, love it, love it. And also, Deborah, like as dog bite code continues to grow, so what do you think? Like, what's next? Are there any plans to expand coverage, introduce new policy, enter new market? What do you think? Like, what are the long-term goals for dog bite code?
Um, to be honest, I'm big on don't fix what isn't broken.
Yeah,
So until the market changes or a competitor comes in
yeah,
or our loss ratios are so good that we can, no one will believe this, but we could
mhm,
actually reduce premiums.
yeah,
Um, Not really planning. I take a day at a time.
hmm,
I tell the entrepreneurs that um, plan on plan on being very good at climbing mountains because
yeah,
every time I think I've crested, I look over and there's another mountain right in front of me. And so
yeah,
we just have to plug ahead and one step at a time and just keep trying because
hmm.
it's just part of business.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like with your deep understanding of pet liability, you must have come across like, truly like unexpected situation or unusual cases. So like what do you think like what was the most surprising or unusual dog liability cases you have encountered?
Well, I don't know that it's a case, but you cannot imagine the number of people who take their dog out for a walk in the morning.
Yeah,
The dog bites someone,
yeah,
they come home and buy the policy. And then they're astounded when there's no coverage. And
yeah,
that's like a basic tenet of insurance is you can't wait until the accident happens. You have to
yeah,
have coverage before it
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
So that's been that's just the most amusing part. I
Mm,
also had always worked with commercial clients prior to this,
yeah.
and working with the general public has been an amazing eye-opening experience. It took 6 emails with one woman to explain to her what an annual premium was. Every
Yeah.
time I would answer the question, she'd twist it back around and come back at me. I was stunned. I was just stunned. So
Amazing, amazing. Well, Deborah, this was an insightful conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise on canine liability insurance.
very good. I appreciate you having me.
Definitely. And guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to Pet Brand Podcast for more conversation with the industry leader, pet entrepreneurs, and experts shaping the pet care industry. And to all our listener, thanks for tuning in. I will leave all the links in the description below of Dog Bite Code so that you can check it out. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the podcast.